podcast.
All right, so we're back for another deep dive. And, I just love these.
Me too.
It's so fun to just take a topic and, really get into it.
Yeah,
And, this time we're tackling something that I think a lot of English learners struggle with,
for sure.
that grammar gremlin.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the one that's, always there in the back of your mind when you're
Right.
trying to speak English?
Mm-hmm.
We have this episode from the DreamWords English podcast, and looks like you're really focused on, getting to that point where you can just speak smoothly,
Yeah, effortless flow.
effortlessly, and with confidence.
Absolutely.
Oh.
It seems like that's a common goal for a lot of English learners.
Yeah, for sure.
And the DreamWords host even starts the episode by talking about how, a lot of people feel like they're kind of stuck in this, grammar trap.
Ooh, grammar trap.
Yeah.
Okay, what's
Yeah.
that all about?
Well, they talk about how so many English learners have been taught to, prioritize grammar rules
Okay.
above all else. Speaking correctly is more important than actually communicating.
Oh, I see what they're saying.
Yeah.
So it's like we overthink every sentence
Right.
before it even comes out of our mouths.
Exactly. And the podcast host makes this really interesting point about, native speakers don't even think about grammar when they're talking.
Really?
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
just thinking about, the ideas they want to express and connecting with the person they're talking to.
Huh.
Yeah. And they even have this quote. They say, native speakers don't think about grammar while talking. They focus on ideas.
Oh, that is so true.
Yeah.
Because I know that when I'm speaking my native language,
Right.
I'm not thinking about am I using the correct, tense or whatever.
It's just flowing.
It's just coming out.
Right.
That's a good point. And what's even more interesting is that they talk about how even native speakers
Yeah.
make little grammar mistakes all the time.
What? So they're not perfect.
No, they're not perfect.
Okay.
And nobody even notices or cares. That's comforting.
Right. So
Right.
that's where this whole idea of embracing imperfection comes in.
Okay.
The podcast host really emphasizes that fluency isn't about being a grammar whiz.
Got it.
It's about being able to communicate your ideas confidently and easily,
Yeah.
even if you make a few mistakes.
Okay, so we don't have to be perfect.
No, not at all.
We can just be ourselves and
Yeah, just get the message across.
get the message across.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's the goal, right?
Yes, exactly.
So how do we do that?
Yeah, how do we break free?
How do we get out of this grammar trap
Right.
and reach that point of confident communication?
Exactly. Because I know for a fact
Yeah,
that if you're too worried about grammar,
right.
it's going to block you from being able to speak.
Absolutely, it's going to hold you back. So
yeah.
what can we do about it?
Yeah, what are the secrets?
Well, the DreamWords podcast actually gives us 6 practical steps to help us stop overthinking grammar and unlock more fluent speaking.
Ooh, 6 steps.
All right.
I'm ready. Lay them on me.
Okay, so step number 1 is all about accepting imperfection.
Okay.
Give yourself permission to make mistakes.
Ooh, that's hard.
It's a mindset shift for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but the podcast host reminds us that communication is about connection,
Right?
not flawlessness.
Yeah.
Think about, would you rather have a conversation that's perfectly grammatically correct but really stilted and awkward?
Oh, yeah, no.
Or a conversation that's natural and engaging even if there are a few little mistakes?
Definitely the natural one.
Right.
Okay, so accept imperfection. Got it. What's number 2?
Okay, step 2 is focus on using simple grammar structure.
Okay, keep it simple.
Yeah, don't try to get all fancy and impress people with your complex sentences.
Right.
Just stick to short, clear expressions that you're comfortable with.
So, don't overthink it.
Yeah,
Just say what you want to say in a simple way.
exactly. And
Yeah.
this actually connects to a really cool point about language processing.
Okay.
So, when you use really complex sentences, yeah,
It increases what's called your cognitive load.
cognitive load.
It's like your brain is juggling too many things at once.
Yeah.
And that can actually make it harder to be fluent.
Oh, so it's well,
By keeping your sentences simple,
Yeah.
you free up mental space to actually focus on what you want to say.
instead of how to say it perfectly.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're learning a new dance move.
Okay.
You break it down into smaller steps so you don't trip over your own feet.
Yes, I get that.
Right.
Okay, so simple structures. That's number 2. What's number 3?
All right, step 3 builds on this idea of simplicity,
Okay.
and it encourages you to practice automatic sentences.
Automatic sentences. What are those?
So think of common phrases that you use all the time.
Okay.
How are you, or can you help me?
Right.
These are grammatically correct sentences that you can just use in lots of different situations
Mm.
without even having to think about the grammar.
Oh, so they're pre-programmed in your brain? Exactly. It's like having a set of ready-made building blocks
Yeah.
that you can use to like construct your conversation
Right.
without having to worry about the individual pieces.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's about building fluency through familiarity.
I like that.
And then step 4 takes a slightly different approach.
Okay.
It's all about training your ear, not just your brain.
Train my ear.
Okay.
Tell me more.
So the podcast host recommends like immersing yourself in natural English speech,
Okay.
like listening to podcasts, watching movies, or even just like eavesdropping on conversations.
Yeah.
The idea is that by exposing yourself to authentic language, your brain will kind of start to pick up on the patterns and rhythms of English grammar naturally.
So just by listening.
Yeah, almost like you're learning a song by ear.
Oh, that's cool. So I don't have to like study grammar rules. I can just like.
It takes the pressure off of having to like consciously analyze every sentence
Yeah.
and lets your brain kind of do what it does best, which is learn through immersion.
Some more English podcasts it is.
Absolutely.
Okay, what about step 5?
All right, so step 5 focuses on fluency exercises.
Okay.
And specifically, this idea of speaking out loud for 1 minute about a simple topic without stopping.
Ooh, a challenge.
Yeah, it is a challenge.
What's the point of that?
So the idea is to build muscle memory for speaking.
Oh, okay.
Think of it like practicing an instrument or a sport. The more you do it,
Right.
the more natural and effortless it becomes.
I got you.
And the key here is you're not allowed to correct yourself during the exercise.
Ooh, just keep talking.
Yeah, just keep talking even if you make mistakes.
Okay.
It's all about getting comfortable with that flow.
Yeah, just getting the words out.
Exactly. Training yourself to focus on the communication, not the individual words and grammar rules.
Oh, okay, I like that. I'm going to try that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
What's the last step?
Okay, step 6 is all about slowing down.
Slowing down. But do we want to speak quickly?
Yeah, but rushing your words can actually make you more likely to stumble and make mistakes.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so by slowing down a little bit,
You give yourself time to think, to choose your words carefully, and to deliver your message clearly and confidently.
okay, so it's not about speaking like a robot.
No,
It's about like finding that
it's about finding that sweet spot.
hiss.
Yeah, where you're speaking clearly and confidently without rushing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so we've covered the 6 steps to stop overthinking grammar.
Yes.
But I have a feeling there are some like common pitfalls that we might fall into along the way.
Oh, you are absolutely right about that.
Right.
The podcast actually highlights 3 common mistakes that English learners often make, even when they're trying to implement these steps.
Okay, I want to hear about these
Yeah, being aware of them can be super helpful.
because I'm sure I make them.
Yeah, probably all of us do.
Okay, so hit me with those common mistakes.
Okay, so the first one is this classic trap of constantly correcting yourself while you're speaking.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You know, it's like you're so focused on getting everything perfect
Mm-hmm.
that you end up like interrupting your own flow. I do that all the time.
It's like hitting the brakes every few seconds while you're driving. You
Yeah.
know, it's jarring, and it makes it really hard to enjoy the ride, both for you and for the person you're talking to.
That is such a good analogy.
Yeah, so instead of trying to be your own grammar police,
Okay.
just try to like acknowledge the mistake and keep going. You know, the goal is to communicate, not to dissect every sentence that you utter.
Yeah, sometimes I think I get so caught up in the rules that I forget about, like, the actual point.
What are we trying to do here? We're
Yeah.
trying to connect with another human being.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, so don't be the grammar police.
No.
What's the second mistake?
Okay. The second mistake kind of feeds into that.
Right.
It's this tendency to try to sound advanced instead of clear.
Ooh.
So reaching for those big fancy words
Oh, yeah.
and those complicated sentence structures.
Yeah, trying to impress everybody.
Yeah. Trying to sound super smart.
Right.
But you know, while it's great to expand your vocabulary,
Of course, yeah.
the podcast host really emphasizes that simple language is often the most powerful.
Really? Less is more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clear communication is about conveying your message effectively,
Right.
not about showing off how much grammar, you know.
Yeah, so it's better to be understood
Well,
than
yeah.
to sound like a walking dictionary.
Exactly. Sometimes the simplest words are the most effective ones.
I like that.
Okay, and then the third mistake, perhaps the most like insidious one, is the fear of making mistakes.
Ooh, that is a big one.
Yeah, it's like this invisible wall.
It holds so many people back
Right.
from speaking.
Yeah, and it's understandable, right?
Yeah.
We've been conditioned to see mistakes as failures,
Mhm.
as something to be ashamed of.
Yeah. In school,
Right.
you get a bad grade if you
Mhm.
make mistakes.
But the podcast host reminds us that mistakes are actually an essential part of learning any language.
Okay.
Nobody is expecting perfection.
That's good.
And in fact, even native speakers make mistakes all the time.
So it's okay to make mistakes.
It's more than okay. It's necessary.
That's right.
It's part of the process.
No. So we have to shift our perspective on that.
Instead of seeing mistakes as setbacks,
Right.
we need to see them as learning opportunities.
That's good.
Every mistake is a chance to learn something new,
Yeah.
to refine your skills and to grow as a speaker.
I love that.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about the steps.
Yeah.
We've talked about the pitfalls.
Mm-hmm.
Did the podcast give any, examples of what this looks like in practice?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Okay.
They have these two contrasting examples of overthinking versus confident speaking
Okay.
that really bring the point home.
Let's hear.
Okay, so in the first example, we have someone who's trying to tell a simple story about going to the store,
Okay.
but they get so bogged down in grammar that it sounds something like this.
Yesterday, I went to the store. I went to the store.
Oh man, that's painful.
It's like they're stuck in a grammar labyrinth.
Yeah, they're lost in the grammar. Their focus is entirely on the rules,
Yeah.
not on the message.
Right.
And then they contrast that with an example of someone speaking confidently and naturally, even if their grammar isn't perfectly polished.
Okay.
And it sounds like this. Yesterday, I went to the store. It was nice. I bought some food.
Wow, what a difference.
Right.
It's so much smoother and more engaging,
It is.
even though the grammar is simpler.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
The second example actually uses simpler grammar than the first one,
Right.
but it sounds so much more natural and relatable.
Yeah.
It really drives home that point that fluency and confidence can be much more powerful than grammatical complexity.
Okay, I'm convinced I am ready to ditch the grammar overthinking and just embrace the flow.
I love it.
But how do we do that?
Well, the podcast wraps up with a really practical daily practice plan.
Okay.
4 simple exercises that you can incorporate into your routine
Hmm.
to build your fluency and confidence over time.
Okay, let's break down this daily practice plan.
All right.
What's the first exercise?
Okay, so the first one is fluency practice.
Fluency practice.
Remember that 1-minute speaking challenge we talked about?
Oh, yeah.
This is where you put it into action.
Got it.
Choose a simple topic, set a timer for 1 minute, and just talk.
Don't stop.
Don't correct yourself. Just let the words flow.
This is going to be hard, but I'm going to try it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, and you said pick a different topic each time.
Yeah, that way you keep things interesting.
Oh.
And you get to practice using different vocabulary and grammar structures
Makes sense.
in different contexts.
Okay, so fluency practice number 1. What's next?
All right, exercise number 2 is called listen and repeat.
Ooh.
So choose a short English video, something you find engaging and easy to follow. Listen to a sentence, then pause the video and try to repeat the sentence exactly as you heard it.
It's like shadowing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mimicking the pronunciation, intonation, rhythm,
Got it.
all of that.
So I'm like learning from a native speaker.
Yes, it's a fantastic way to train your ear and internalize those natural speech patterns.
Like I'm absorbing their way of speaking.
It's like learning how to dance by watching a professional dancer and then trying to copy their moves.
Yeah, I like that.
Right.
And I remember you said something about focusing on specific things.
Yes.
Like intonation or linking sounds.
Exactly. Paying attention to those subtle details can really refine your pronunciation
Okay.
and help you sound more natural.
Awesome. I am adding that to my list.
Good.
What about number 3?
All right, number 3 is all about self-awareness.
Okay.
It's called record yourself.
Ooh.
So take 1 minute each day to record yourself talking about your day, your thoughts, your plans, anything that comes to mind, and then listen back to the recording.
Oh, I don't know if I like that one.
It can be a little scary, but
Yeah.
it's so helpful.
What am I listening for?
So you're listening for your own speaking patterns.
Okay.
Pay attention to your pronunciation, your grammar, your fluency. What are you doing well? Could you improve?
Right.
The beauty of this exercise is that it helps you become more aware of your own strengths and weaknesses as a speaker.
I bet we actually do a lot more right than we realize.
You're probably right.
right.
But we're so focused on our mistakes
Yeah, we don't even notice.
that we don't even see the good stuff.
Okay, so by listening back to myself,
Yeah.
I can kind of be like, oh, oh, I'm actually doing okay.
Exactly. And you can start to identify those patterns and make adjustments as needed.
So it's like having my own personal coach.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I like that one.
Okay, good.
What about the fourth one?
Right, the fourth exercise is about building your grammar knowledge.
Okay.
Gradually and systematically.
All right.
So it's called Learn One Structure.
Okay.
And the idea is each day choose one simple grammatical structure.
Right.
Like the present perfect or the past continuous. And just focus on understanding how it works and how to use it correctly.
So instead of trying to learn everything at once.
I'm just focusing on one little piece.
Exactly. Breaking it down into manageable chunks.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's like learning to cook. You start with basic recipes.
Right.
And then you gradually add more complex techniques as you gain confidence.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so learn one structure. Got it.
So we have fluency practice, listen and repeat record yourself, and learn one structure.
Wow, this is a really comprehensive daily practice plan.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
I'm impressed.
Me too. I think this podcast episode has done a great job of really giving us some practical tools.
Yeah. I'm excited to try these out.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great reminder that communication is really about connection, not perfection.
Yeah, it's like, who cares if you make a little grammar mistake here and there?
Right.
As long as people understand you.
Exactly. And you're getting your message across.
Right.
And the podcast host actually says, confidence beats perfection every time.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
Yes. It's so true because it's so easy to get caught up in trying to be perfect.
Right.
But like you said, ultimately what matters is being able to communicate effectively.
Absolutely.
Confidently.
And they remind us that, nobody speaks perfect English all the time.
Not even native speakers.
Not even native speakers.
Right.
They make mistakes, they hesitate, they sometimes trip over their words.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just part of being human.
It's part of language.
It's part of language.
I think sometimes we forget that.
Yeah.
Like we think that native speakers just,
I just magically
speak perfectly.
Yeah, effortlessly and perfectly.
All the time.
Yeah, but that's not realistic.
No, it's not.
So the real keys to fluency and confidence are practice and a focus on communication.
Yeah. Not just like memorizing grammar rules.
Right, exactly.
Like learning to ride a bike.
Yeah.
You could study the physics of balance and motion all you want.
Right.
But until you actually get on that bike and start pedaling, you're not going to learn how to ride.
You're not going to learn how to ride a bike.
Right.
And the podcast host leaves us with this really powerful message. They say, you are already good enough to communicate. Now you just need to trust yourself.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that great?
It's like you're giving yourself permission to just speak.
Yes.
And to express yourself.
Without fear.
Yeah.
Without holding back.
And that's what confidence is all about, right?
That's what confidence is all about. It's about trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Knowing that you can do it.
And I think that when you have that self-belief, it makes it easier to relax.
Absolutely.
And to speak more naturally.
Yeah.
And to just enjoy the process of communicating.
It takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we were to kind of sum up the main takeaway from this deep dive, what would it be?
I think it's this: you can achieve fluent, confident English by shifting your focus from perfect grammar to clear, authentic communication.
Oh, that's so good.
It's like letting go of the need to be perfect.
Yeah.
And just embracing the joy of expressing yourself.
And trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have the ability to communicate, even if you make a few mistakes.
Right, because mistakes are part of the process.
They are.
I think this deep dive has been such a good reminder that speaking a language is about so much more than just getting the grammar right.
It is.
It's about connecting with other people. It's about sharing your ideas.
Yeah.
Building relationships.
Absolutely.
And I think the beauty of it is that the more you practice, the more confident you become.
Absolutely.
And then the less you have to overthink those grammar rules.
It's like this amazing cycle.
Yeah.
Confidence leads to fluency, which leads to more confidence, and so on.
It just keeps building.
It keeps building.
And that brings me to a final thought.
Ooh. I love a good thought-provoking question.
I know.
Out of it.
So this podcast, we've been focusing on English grammar.
But I think the principles that they're talking about can actually be applied to.
Oh, absolutely.
So much more than just language learning.
Yeah, think about it.
Yeah.
Like the idea of letting go of perfectionism, embracing mistakes as learning opportunities, focusing on consistent practice.
Yeah.
These are all valuable strategies for mastering any skill.
Oh, I see what you're
Slightly
saying.
variant.
Like a mindset shift.
It is.
So it could apply to like
Anything.
playing an instrument,
Yeah.
playing sports,
Mm-hmm.
learning to code.
Cooking, anything. Anything. It's about shifting your mindset from a fear of failure to a love of learning and growth.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
I like that.
So my question for you is, how can you apply these principles to other areas of your life?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What are some areas where you might be holding yourself back?
Yeah.
Because of a fear of making mistakes or a need to be perfect?
I think that's a great question for all of our listeners to think about.
I agree. And remember, the power of consistent practice and a positive mindset can truly unlock your potential no matter what you're striving to achieve.
So it's so inspiring to think about like all the things that we can accomplish
Yeah,
when we just like let go of that need to be perfect
absolutely.
and embrace the process.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah. This has been such a great deep dive.
It has been.
I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Of course, and to all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you learned something.
And we hope you're feeling inspired.
To let go of grammar overthinking.
And embrace the joy of confident communication.
Because remember, you are already capable of amazing things.
You are. Yeah, it really is. And you know what I think is so cool about this episode is like, they don't just tell you why you shouldn't overthink grammar. They actually give you like real tools and strategies to help you break free from it.
Totally. And it's like this huge reminder that communication is about connection, not perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares if you make a little grammar mistake here and there?
Exactly.
As long as people understand you.
Right, and you're getting your message across.
Exactly. And you know, the podcast hosts, they actually say confidence beats perfection every time.
I love that.
It's so true.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in trying to be perfect.
Oh, yeah.
But like you said, what matters is being able to communicate effectively and confidently.
And they remind us that nobody speaks perfect English all the time.
Not even native speakers.
Not even native speakers.
Right.
They make mistakes, they hesitate, they trip over their words.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. It's part of being human.
It's part of language.
It's part of language.
Yeah. I think sometimes we forget that.
I think so too.
We think that native speakers just like,
Yeah.
magically speak perfectly all the time.
Yeah.
But that's not realistic.
No, not at all.
Okay, so the real keys to fluency and confidence are
Practice and a focus on communication.
not just grammar rules.
Right.
That's like learning to ride a bike.
Mm-hmm.
You can study, the physics of it all you want,
Yeah.
but until you actually get on that bike and start pedaling,
Right.
you're not going to learn.
You're not going to learn how to ride.
And the podcast host, they say this, and I just love this. They say, you are already good enough to communicate. Now you just need to trust yourself.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that great?
That's so powerful.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself permission
Yeah.
to speak
To just speak
and to express yourself.
without fear,
Yeah.
without holding back.
And that's what confidence is all about.
That's what it's all about, trusting yourself.
Yeah. Knowing that you can do it.
Knowing that you can do it.
And I think that when you have that self-belief, it just makes it so much easier to relax
Yeah.
and speak more naturally.
Absolutely. It takes the pressure off.
Yeah. So if we were to sum up the main takeaway
Yeah.
from this whole deep dive, what would it be?
I think it's this. You can achieve fluent, confident English by shifting your focus from perfect grammar to clear, authentic communication.
Yes.
Right?
It's like letting go of that need to be perfect
Mm-hmm.
and just embracing the joy of expressing yourself.
And trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have that ability to communicate,
Yeah.
even if you make a few mistakes along the way.
Right, because mistakes are part of the process.
They are a necessary part of the process.
I think this deep dive has been such a good reminder that like speaking a language is about so much more than just getting the grammar right.
It is.
It's about connecting with other people, sharing ideas, building relationships.
Absolutely.
And I think the beauty of it is that the more you practice,
Yes.
the more confident you become.
Absolutely.
And then the less you have to overthink those grammar rules.
Yeah, it's like this upward spiral.
It's like a cycle.
Yeah.
Confidence leads to fluency, which leads to more confidence.
It keeps building on itself.
Yeah. And that brings me to a final thought.
Ooh, a final thought. I love it.
I know I like to end these deep dives with like a question for everyone to think about.
I'm ready.
So, this podcast, we've been talking about English grammar,
Right.
but I think the principles they're talking about can actually be applied to so much more
Oh, for sure.
than just language learning.
Absolutely.
Like, think about it, the idea of letting go of perfectionism, embracing mistakes
Yep.
as learning opportunities,
Right.
and focusing on consistent practice.
Yeah.
These are all valuable strategies for mastering any skill,
Any skill.
not just language.
Yeah.
So it could apply to, like, playing an instrument, playing sports,
Learning to code,
cooking,
cooking,
anything.
anything.
It's about like a mindset shift
It is a mindset shift.
from being afraid to fail to just like loving the process of learning
Exactly.
and growing.
From fear of failure to a love of learning and growth.
Yes, I love that.
Right.
So my question for you and for all of our listeners is, how can you apply these principles to other areas of your life?
That's a great question.
What are some areas where you might be holding yourself back
Yeah.
because of that fear of making mistakes or that need to be perfect?
Or that need to be perfect.
Yeah, I think that's something we can all think about.
I agree.
You know, remember, the power of consistent practice and a positive mindset can truly unlock your potential, no matter what you're striving to achieve.
So true.
It's so inspiring to think about, like, all the things that we can accomplish
Yeah.
when we just let go of that need to be perfect
Absolutely.
and embrace the process.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Me too. This has been such a great deep dive.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, it's been my pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us on this journey.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you learned something.
And we hope you're feeling inspired
To let go of that grammar overthinking.
and embrace the joy of confident communication.
Because remember, you are already capable of amazing things.
You are.
So keep practicing, keep learning,
Keep speaking.
and keep sharing your voice with the world.
Absolutely.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.